It's probably becoming redundant in the middle of COVID. My first proper job out of uni, and just navigating, this new environment that everyone was facing last year. Learning how to, apply for jobs when job interviews weren't allowed. Trying to tweak my skill set for different industries, just trying to, make sense of what was going to happen, because it was a very scary time, and yeah.
So look, the biggest challenge I think that I faced in my career was running a small business at the same time as having 3 children. So trying to be able to take some time off to have maternity leave while at the same time still maintaining the running of a business. It's very difficult to actually have, like you would as an employee, have a 6-month break and sort of take that downtime. And I must admit that having kids while having a small business had its challenges, but it also had benefits as well.
So probably the biggest challenge that I've faced in my career is just having confidence in myself and my own abilities. When I get faced with new opportunities, just knowing that I can achieve them and that I can do well in them. And so that's been something that I've had to overcome.
Well, I can think of 2 that come to mind. Balancing family and work commitments is definitely a big one. I don't think it actually ever really gets easier not having as much time with your kids, but that's really been helpful with having a supportive workplace that can be flexible with my working hours. The other one is having a business that almost went bankrupt a few years ago, and making my way through that was really quite challenging.
The biggest challenge I faced in my career was taking the road of transforming from being a hands-on physio to going into the world of business and management. So I'd been practicing as a physio for 20 years and knew there was more in me, and could I find a place in the corporate world where I could still be myself and feel like I really made a difference.
So the biggest risk I've taken so far must have been my jump from hospo and events to straight digital marketing. I knew I had a heap of transferable skills. I knew I could meet deadlines, but I knew my technical skills were probably not up to scratch, or not as well refined as some other people that had been doing it for a few years. So I really needed to be careful with who I took as my first job as an employer, and just really hope for the best. And was it worth it? I think it was, because I'm here.
So look, the biggest risk I think that I've taken in my career was selling my business. I'd had it for 17 years, or I'd been there for 17 years, and I'd owned it for quite some time. So putting it on the market and selling it, and not necessarily knowing where I was going to next. So being into my 40s and not necessarily having a job on the other side to go to, closing one door and seeing what other doors would open, was risky at the time, but well and truly worth it in the end.
Probably the biggest risk that I've taken in my career would be when I did a complete career change from a career in science to a career in the business field. I completed my undergraduate degree a few years ago in science and decided that I wanted to pursue a career in human resources. And so I signed up to the Masters of Human Resource Management at UTS with kind of no prior work experience or education in the business faculty, and it's been a great experience so far. It's definitely been worth it. I've enjoyed every moment of it.
Oh, the biggest risk. Listen, I think a few years ago we had to liquidate all of the assets that we had as a company. We'd built a business for over 10 years and we had to literally sell everything to keep the boat afloat. That was really challenging. It was kind of like being in a poker game and having to put all chips in, knowing that you had to either win or you would lose everything. That was definitely tough.
Okay, the biggest risk I've taken in my career was very early on, when I fell pregnant age 20, halfway through my physio course, and deciding if I was going to go back and finish or if I was going to stay home with my beautiful baby. So like lots of women, it's such a challenge to make that balance between family and work. I went back, 18 months later I was a physio, and that little baby is about to turn 30, and he just turned around last weekend and said, "Mum, I'm so proud of you and your achievements."
My advice to a woman trying to challenge the status quo, or anyone trying to challenge the status quo, is to remember your true values and really stick to them. It's really likely in a workforce that your values resonate with someone else within your workforce, They could resonate with clients, suppliers, stakeholders, really anyone. So it's really important that you stick to your guns and you explore, as a company, all options because you never know which one might be, the winning formula.
So for a young female physiotherapist, there's more females go into physiotherapy, but more males go into private practice and more males go into private practice business ownership. So what I would say to a young female therapist is to back yourself. You don't necessarily have to go into a comfortable hospital role. You can go into business ownership, you can go into private practice, and you can be really successful. So if that's where you want to go, don't hold back because you're female. It can be done, and it has been done really successfully by a lot of women.
So some advice that I would give women is just to make sure that you have confidence in yourself and your own abilities, and just not to let anyone tell you that you can't achieve your dreams.
At the risk of sounding like a Hallmark card, I'm just going to say to be yourself, play to your strengths. I don't believe you need to be a jack of all trades and master of none. You just need to be a master of one or two things that you're really good at and enjoy, and that's enough. Coupling that with being a female, I think that's fierce enough.
The advice I'd give to any woman who wants to challenge the status quo is to take the time to think about what you value, what your signature strengths are, and how you turn up at the table. Then take the time to find a business that values what you value, surround yourself with awesome people, and flourish.